Functions. After watching this video, I will be able to calculate function values. So first we kind of have to understand what function notation or functions are. So functions are basically equations that has a one-to-one answer. So meaning whatever the x is, it only has one y output. So basically all linear equations are linear functions, and we can use function notation. Functions are indicated by using a symbol, and it's basically we use the symbol f, and then we say f of x, and the x is in parentheses. This is just a notation. It's the same thing as saying y. So f of x is the same thing as saying y, which is why when we say y equals 3x minus 8, we can also use function notation to say f of x equals 3x minus 8. And then when we have like a value that we want to use to plug in or substitute for x, we can just use a simple notation that we're going to see in the next slide. If I had a regular equation, y equals 2x plus 3, and I told you when x is 1, what is y? Well, I would take my y and my equation, replace the letter x with the number 1, and then keep the equation the same, and then I would solve for y. So I would say y equals 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3, so y equals 3. I'm sorry, y equals 5. I could do the same thing without telling you what x equals, just written into the actual problem. So if I'm using function notation, instead of having y, I'm going to have f of x. And then if I tell you f of 1, meaning instead of having the letter x in parentheses, I have the number 1, that's telling me that I'm going to take my equation and everywhere I see the letter x, I'm going to replace it with the number 1. And then I would solve for f of 1. So f of 1 would equal, well, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3. So f of 1 equals 5. So notice that y equals 5, f of 1 equals 5, because they were the same equations, just written in a different way. Also, I told you in the first one, x equals 1. Well, I basically told you the same thing here. I just used function notation because I said f of 1, which basically means x equals 1. Okay, so here, if I have two equations, well, one equation written in different ways, I have my y equals 2x plus 3, but I also have it in function notation, f of x equals 2x plus 3. We can actually find what the numbers are by evaluating the expression when x equals 2, 3, or 4. So when I replace the letter x with the corresponding values for x, I end up with these expressions or these equations. And then I can just simplify. So y equals, well, 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 plus 3. So y equals 7 for the first one. And then y equals 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3, so that it equals 9. And then 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3, so that equals 11. So we can evaluate expressions by using function notation. So here in this expression, we are told strictly in function notation that we have g of x is equal to x squared minus 3. And then it says to find g of negative 2. So I already have a function. And then I'm told to find g of 2. So I'm just going to replace everywhere I see the letter x. I'm going to replace it with the number negative 2. So the only thing that changed was what was inside. Instead of x, I have negative 2, and now I'm going to use my order of operations to solve. So negative 2 squared is actually positive 4 minus 3, so it equals 1. So g of negative 2 would equal 1. And that's the same thing as saying if x equals negative 2, find y. This would be the same idea of saying find g of negative 2.